All right. So today's topic, I wanted to talk about silence. The There's some benefit to silence, but more silence so that we can hear what we're listening to and what we're listening for. So when we think about silence, we think about uh, everything. There's no TV, there's no radio, uh, there's nothing. Directly stimulating us through the ears, but silence is more than that. Like it's a complete separateness and quietness from the environment that we're in. Being silent on the inside and the outside is really important um, on the path of discerning where we are and where we want to be and getting clarity on the issues of life. And it can be super hard to create a silent environment, but I think it's super hard, much harder to create the silence on the inside because when it's quiet on the outside, we become aware of all of the conversations and distractions that are happening all the time on the inside anyway. And when we're uh, distracted by music or a TV show or talking to someone else and all of that, our attention is focused on that and not on what is happening inside. So when we get quiet, we create a quiet outer environment. And we get used to that because it's really hard sometimes to sit down and accept that quietness and sit with it and let it penetrate us. Then we discover the lack of quietness inside of our body and inside of our mind. It's not just our thinking thoughts, but it's our body. Our body has grown accustomed to not being quiet and still. And when we sit comfortably but in silence, your body will start poking at you and wanting you to pay attention. You know, you might have a stiffness here, a twitch there. This chair isn't comfortable. My back hurts, or oh, I'm thirsty now. I want to get out of this experience. And I want to get out of the experience through some distraction in my physical body, through pain, discomfort, um, food, a drink, etc. So when we start to listen um, with attention to the conversation that is happening on the inside of us when we are uh, entering into a place of silence, then we start to get an idea um, of how much noise there is and how much distraction there is happening anyway. So when we're wanting to really understand something or really gain some clarity or really learn something about ourselves, or we're reaching deep within for a light for our path, perhaps, or an answer for a question, the silence is where we get it. Is in the quiet place. It comes deep within. So practicing, like if you think about it, if if I'm coming over to your house and you're expecting me and we have plans, and I say I'm going to be there sometime a little before two-ish, something like that, then you'll start listening to hear me coming a little before I said I was going to be there until I get there. You'll start putting energy and putting your ears on uh, the arrival of me at your home. And we're listening with intensity, or we're listening with an awareness. Um, Also, if we if you have a child and you you put the child in another room, you put them down, you're listening for something that's unusual and different, right? So we have the ability to focus our attention to hear what it is that we want to hear, and we have that ability, but we don't necessarily always use it towards ourselves for personal things, you know but we have very highly tuned hearing for um, for all kinds of things when we want to. So, when we're sitting, in a concert, we're sitting and it's dark and we're waiting with rapt attention for the first note, and then we hear the first note, the first couple of notes, and then the feeling comes with it, and then we're lifted into that experience. And um, we can use that same attention and attentiveness in hearing and listening for the direction that we want to have, the clarity we want to have, for a revelation, for the clicking together of the puzzle pieces and something that we're learning. We take in a lot of um, data and a lot of there's internal growth, and then it's supplemented with external knowledge. And we're listening for the click when those pieces fit together, and then we get that aha moment. So learning to listen with rapt attention to the deeper parts of ourselves where these answers come through. The still small voice, the quietness inside. We gain eternal and universal knowledge, comes through us. It comes through us, through our heart, through our higher being, and then it goes into our mind, gathers up a format that we can understand, and comes out of our mouth, perhaps, or out of our fingers for writing, something like that. So we have to, it doesn't overtake us, blam, and then we're a robot. We open to it, and we create room. We create room for the revelation. We create room for the desired information through silence, quietness. It's like, have you ever talked to somebody? I mean, this happens sometimes. When people are arguing, if somebody's talking, blah 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 blah, and then they get quiet, and you wait, and they don't say anything, and then you open your mouth and you start to speak, and they start talking, and you're like, all right, and you wait, and it gets quiet, and then you begin to speak, and whoop, they start speaking right over the top of you. It's an annoying technique that people have, that we should get out. But that's kind of what we do to the information that we desire to have that's coming from within. Because oftentimes, if we say, what am I listening for? What am I listening for? Sometimes it's not clear, because we're not clear on what we're listening for either. What is it that we're wanting information on, or we need an answer to, or we need to discover? It works with work problems too. If you're working on something, or math problems and stuff, then the answer comes around a few hours later sometimes, but the question's clear, so that the answer is then clear, right? So when we become clear about what it is we're listening for, and paying attention for, and looking for, within ourselves and the world around us, and then we practice the practice of silence, of becoming quiet and becoming still, and then we begin to discern the difference between our talking mind and the higher uh, the higher influence and power that's coming through us with the information. And sometimes I take the information and I kind of roll it around and then give it back, see if it comes back again, because it's a conversation with an outcome. And oftentimes I'll know what I'm listening for or looking for in the quietness, but it comes in a different way than I think it will. So it's being open and looking at everything that is coming through with clarity, but getting into the place where we can be quiet and we can enjoy the silence, and we can enjoy the silence with an air of expectancy. Then we begin to be in that conversation place with our inner self and our higher being, and we can begin to have a back and forth. I know what I'm listening for, and I know the note I'm waiting to strike. And when I hear something and it resonates deep within me, I'm like, that's it. That's it, even if it looks different than I thought. And so I'll spend some time on that and expand on that within myself. So a quiet practice, developing a quiet practice is super important. And when we sit in quietness and we listen to our body, because the body will be noisy, we listen to our body and we listen to what it is saying and what is happening inside of us. It is a wealth of information for us. Also, why is that sore over there? What if I breathe into that? If I breathe into that space, will it become less sore? What is my body trying to tell me right now? The body is a living part of our spiritual being. It is a dense form. It is a form that we can see with the naked eye. And so sometimes we think it is separate from us, but it is the same. It is a part of our spiritual being. It is only a form that we can see, but it is the spirit, soul, and body are one. It's part of the auric field that is all around us. So it is definitely a voice that speaks to us about us and helps us in living a long and healthy life when we listen to it. When we listen to it. And it's a self-healing machine. We learn to listen to it, and we learn to understand how the energy flows in the human body and with the human spirit. And we can begin to move with our entire being in the expression of our life. And instead of living in a body in this realm, through our spirit, which is inside from a spirit that's way out there somewhere. It's all the same. We're just not seeing the other aspects of it, but we can hear them. We can hear from all of it when we learn to be quiet, when we learn to be quiet with a listening ear. It's not about silencing everything. It's about listening to what's being said and deciding what to keep, what's important and what to keep, what's a real conversation and what is just noise. And, the stuff that is just noise, we can put it aside. And if the body's speaking, we can have a conversation with our body. What does the body need? The body will tell you. I switch around what I eat often because my body's like, I don't want that. I want this right now. I'm like, okay, we'll have that right now. Like, why not? It's not a machine or a slave for my life to live inside of. It's a vessel, a holy vessel that this spiritual being dwells within. That's my sanctuary, my sacred ground. This is holy ground. This vessel with the spirit, this eternal being touching down on earth in it, this divinity that's in all of us. So the quietness brings us a lot of information. It's an encyclopedia about what's happening now and information for our life moving forward and in our life, our current experience. And sometimes being in the quiet place, uh, quietness can be really loud, even when there's nothing being said. But the emotion that comes through is very profound when we get past the words. The emotions from deep within the soul of a person will speak to the person and bring forth a picture or a vision or a concept or an idea about what is happening right now that words are not expressing. So being in a place of becoming quiet, uh, turning off the outer world, the external world, we can learn to separate from it and listen to the quietness that's all around. Then we begin to get nurtured from the quietness. The quietness begins to speak. And I said that before in a class. The quietness begins to speak to us and birth within us that which we need for the moment, for the place that we're in our life right now. So I'm going to unmute, or you're going to unmute, please. Or not. Okay, you don't have to. I would challenge you, though. This will be the challenge for the week between, is to try to make a point and an intention of having quietness in
There
your
we
life.
are.
Oh, one person. One person will speak.
I I know. My brain is busy all the time. It's yakking away. It's singing songs. It's almost never shuts up.
Yeah.
So I think I should make a point to practice that quietness because I forgot all about that.
Mhm.
It's something I should be doing.
It's a, if we just say, okay, for 5 minutes, I'll focus on my breath, and pretty soon we just get quiet when we do that anyway.
Right?
And have an intention. I just have the intention. I think it's good to have an intention of learning quietness, because once we have an intention of wanting to discover it, it will begin to find us.
And it's practicing it
It's practicing,
more. Yeah.
but it's also when we have an intention to discover, then opportunities arise that make it easy to experience. Like everything else in life that we're learning, when we have an intention to,
Mm-hmm.
then all of a sudden everything's speaking to us about that.
Yes, I understand that. Sounds good.
So so I was sitting in
Well,
quietness today. This is just an example, and
I
I
guess we are sitting in quietness.
yeah profoundly now, because uh, I was looking outside and I said, what am I listening for? What am I listening for? And I sat there until it floated to the surface.
Mm-hmm.
I said, I have to be very clear about what I'm listening for so that I know when I hear it. So, if we're just listening for music, music is on all around us. right? But if we're
This is
listening
true.
to a violin, when we hear a violin, we're going to be, there's a violin. But if you're like, I think I want to
You will see violins everywhere.
everywhere.
Yes.
But if we're like, I think I just want to hear some music, you could hear bongo drums, you could hear a horn, and it might not speak to you at all. And you'll go, that was a dumb lesson. But understanding what it is that we're seeking, what it is that we're listening for, in some clarity, not a vague, you know, I want, what am I ready for? Like that's a thing to throw out. What am I ready for? I'm listening for what I'm ready for next. You know. So that's what I want everyone to think about today.
Okay.
And last week, some people shared their music list.
Wow.
Ah.
Brave people.
If people share theirs, I'll share mine. But you're not getting mine without sharing yours.
No, you have one. I'll have to work on that.
So no other comments. So I'm going to challenge.
Can I?
Yeah, please.
I think there are times for silence, obviously, but I think there's also times for loud, boisterous dissent.
Yes, absolutely.
And, that's right now is not the time to be silent. Right now is the time to yell it and scream out whatever the hell you're thinking about, but not just sit by idly and let the circumstances just fall into place without any emotion it evokes within your own self.
If we're talking about world events, yes, but I'm talking about personal growth. And
Right. Obviously, there's a
but if you're talking about world events, I'm not in any way suggesting people lay down and be complacent about their life circumstances.
Yeah, just sometimes
But yes, we stand up and we make choices for the world that we want to live in and what's going to benefit the highest and best for everybody. We make the best choices. But in moving our personal life forward, and sometimes even defining what those choices might be that we're going to fight for, we need to be quiet to understand what it is that our own heart is telling us and not our mind, but what our own heart is speaking to us, what our own life is speaking to us. My classes are all about personal advancement towards the highest and best expression of our divinity, and how we walk that out in our outside life is absolutely everybody's choice and responsibility. But I'm presenting tools for discovering what those concepts and beliefs might be, and the direction a person might want to take in their life. So yes, there's a time for there's time for the tuba.
Gee, one just drove by my house. Did you hear it? Oompa, oompa.
And there's definitely time for the whisper. So absolutely, there's time for both. Inside and outside. I mean, sometimes we need that old bongo drum in our own heart too, and stir ourselves up. So I would like to take this into a quiet meditation and practice being quiet and listening to the body, to what's happening inside. So if there's no further comment, we'll slip away.
Okay.
Okay. We're going to meet you all again. All right, get comfortable. Connect with your breath. It's a familiarity. It's comfortable. Allow your breath to connect you with your body. Start to turn your eyes inward. With each breath in, open up and fall in. Let your inner vision slip inside. Observe what you observe. If there's a lot of talking going on, suggest a moment of silence. Focus your attention on the breath. Allow yourself to have a feeling of appreciation for your body, for this beautiful, holy vessel that you dwell within. This is your sanctuary, your inner space. This is your holy ground. Your divine being dwells within this space. This beautiful form of you, it is you. You are divine in every aspect. Every cell in your body has divine expression. Allow the appreciation to create a sense of awe and quietness. Connect with the love in your heart. Feel that love in you and all around you. Feel it supporting you, floating in a sea of love. Fully supported, completely loved. Connect with the immense silence inside. Love isn't noisy or loud. Our mind is loud. Let the love surround you and notice the silence. Listen intently for the loving silence. The Quietness will drown out the noise. Not the other way around. Feel the love, hear the silence. The silence brings rest. It brings freedom. Floating in the silence, surrounded by love. breathing, feeling the love in the silence. Bring your awareness back to your body, back to this place and time. When you're ready, open your eyes. If you'd like to share, you can unmute. And if not, I will see you all next week.
There we go.
Same place.
I felt like Oliver in his towel.
Was it quiet for a moment?
It was so wonderfully floating and warm and relaxed and much quieter. I kept, thoughts keep sneaking in, but yeah, it's very nice.
Let him go.
Oh, that was a perfect break from my day. I feel just so much like unwound and relaxed.
Good. Now you can wallpaper like crazy.
Yay.
Okay.
At least